That's a telltale sign of a founder, right? Five, four, three, two, one. What do you want? Make a choice. And that's the thing I found was that majority of frauds, they ruin their life for $300, not because they wanted to take the money, but because the controls weren't there. And it was really the fault of management, fault of not putting in the proper procedures. And when you leave $1,000 on a table, and nobody checks you, normally what happens, it's an accident or a mistake the first time. No one catches it because the controls aren't there.
Welcome to DevReady podcast. Today we're joined by Dan Cox, who serial entrepreneur, founder of the Green Parrot collective in sustainability and how we might drive sustainability from B to B to C, but been around the traps in property development, also an AI consulting business, and then exited a data management business probably a couple of years back. You mentioned Dan, so lots going on there. Dan, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate to be on your show.
Oh, really welcome. Now, let's obviously got a bit of an accent. You're in Sydney, but love to understand where the accent's from and how you got to Australia, really.
Yeah, sure. It's actually an interesting story. So, I've been here for 23 years and I've been married for 22. Just the beginning of this month, so March. And I did meet her here. She's Brazilian, and we met in church. And it took me 2 weeks to get my first date with her. And 13 days after our first date, I proposed, and 3 months later, we were married.
Oh, wow. That was very quick.
Yes. I knew what I wanted back then. These days, a little bit less so. So
quick decision's a good decision, as they say.
yeah, that's right. That's a telltale sign of a founder, right? Five, four, three, two, one. What do you want? Make a choice.
Well, let's go.
But actually, I came from the U.S. obviously with my American accent. Grew up around Seattle. And at the time, I was working for one of the two large business intelligence companies. The company called Cognos. Some people might still know about it. It's still the main platform for IBM. But I was working for them and building up their West Coast. And 2 weeks before, I was literally moving with them to the Netherlands to help run Northern Europe and build that. So 2 weeks before, I got this email from the COO, and it said, "Since you're uprooting, why don't you go down to Australia?" Full stop. That was it.
Oh, so that's a complete change of plans.
Yeah. So I called him up, and he said, "Rich, what are you talking about?" And he said, "We sold some software down in Australia. We don't know exactly what we sold. We sold them everything. We don't know what the project is. But go down there, go to the beach, have a holiday, make sure the project stays on track, and we'll sort out Europe when you finished." So landed in Brisbane, and guy picked me up. It was late afternoon, and I said, "I'm not tired. Let's go into the headquarters and find out what the heck is going on." So rucked up into MIM, so Mine Eyes are Mines. And at the time, back in 2002, they were the world's largest mining company. So the mines, physical mines. And so they wanted a full driver-based budgeting system globally. And I said, "What? You want that in 3 months?" I distinctly remember I looked at my watch and said, "We're 6 months behind schedule already."
Brilliant. Great start.
And they said,
landing in Oz.
Yeah. So they said, they said you could actually do it and get it done. I said, "Well, I'll certainly try." And then I asked, "So where's my team?" And they said, you could find them as well.
Oh, brilliant. So you have to find team and get it done in 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. So
yes.
within 5 days, I had 7 consultants on staff, as well as the guy that picked me up, who was the primary architect. And then they hired project manager, and this is the beginning of agile implementations. And I remember coming in the boardroom Monday morning, and the project manager scribbled a couple of things on the board and said, "Go at it." I'm like, "What?" Needless to say, 6.5 months later, 6 days a week, 16-hour days, through the Christmas break.
Oh,
They were really kind. They brought my parents down to visit, and the
yeah.
girlfriend that I had at the time from Ohio, so I could stay there working. And so,
Mm,
yeah, after we finished it, about 3 months later, Xstrata bought most of MIM's mines.
okay.
So it was a $20 million due diligence for a $68 billion acquisition,
Well, there
basically.
you go. Okay, so that was
And
everything behind it all.
yeah,
Yes.
so I kind of
Yeah.
liked it. And at
Yeah.
the time, Northern Europe was a little bit soft. So they said, Cogno said, you could come to Bracknell, UK, or stay in Sydney. And I said, where? And they said, oh, it's about,
Sydney sounds better, maybe.
well, the time, this is 24 years ago now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was south of, so Bracknell's south of Heathrow. And so a little
Okay.
country town, I'm like,
Yeah.
how does a
Yeah.
$4 billion company have
Yeah.
an office in the country? And
Yeah.
yeah, a couple months later, they were actually acquired by IBM, and it's still the main analytics platform for IBM today. So you can still see that name around. But I decided, no, I don't want to stick around being an IBMer. So I went out on my own, did some consulting, gathered a following, and then started out my own and built a data management company across ANZ and Southeast Asia. And yeah, here we are today, my fourth or fifth different startup. So
Yeah, the fascinating entry into Oz, and it's amazing how people land here sometimes. And the background story is just on a whim. So you got an email and you're here in no time, and then yeah, you just here what 23, 24 years. Yeah, time
yeah,
flies quickly, doesn't it?
it
Yeah, brilliant.
does.
Yeah. Now,
Absolutely.
what in terms of jumping in, let's unpack that a little bit. You mentioned the data management business and consulting business, starting that up. What drew you down that path? Was it just don't want to be around the IBM side? I'll try to do some stuff on my own, or was it always just the energy to just try some stuff on your own? That's something you had in you.
Well, there's a lot to unpack on in that actually. So growing up on the farm, so it was orchard, apples, pears, and cherries, and my parents owned probably the pretty close to the largest single family owned and ran orchard in the world. About a
Yeah, wow,
thousand acres at its peak of productive land. And
it's a
at
huge
12
amount
years
of
old,
land. Yeah,
my
wow.
dad gave me 17 acres and said, you do whatever you want with that land, but it's
Oh,
yours. You have to
yes.
do whatever. I'll help you, I'll support you, but you
Uh-huh.
got to do the books. You've got to do the
This is education in business.
Oh yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. He threw me in
Yeah.
the deep end. So
Mm.
yeah, at 12 years old, I planted Granny Smiths and Red
Mm.
Delicious, and yeah, I did all the organization from yeah the setting up the company to bank accounts to
Mm.
payroll because
Wow.
we had
Yeah.
lots of pruning
Picking.
and mowing
Yeah, all
and
that
thinning
madness.
and
Yes.
yeah. So I learned a lot about entrepreneurship for sure and
You would
getting
have at
stuck in.
12. That's
Yeah,
a great education. No need for school.
absolutely.
Just sit on the farm and do that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it, and tractors as well. Doing everything. So I can drive just about anything. And my dad put me on my first tractor when I was 5. I couldn't reach the pedals. I actually had to use the steering wheel to pull myself down because I
Yeah.
wasn't strong
It would
enough
have been a
and
big
heavy
smile on
enough.
your face. I can just
Oh
imagine that.
yeah,
I've got
absolutely.
as a 5-year-old, you would have been smiling along.
So I learned a lot from my parents through those experiences, and it really gave me that heart and inspiration to be an entrepreneur. And although I loved the roles that I did have, so I actually consider myself having 5 careers. My first one being the farm, and after I graduated from university, my dad actually asked me, "So, why don't you move back and start to take over the farm?" And I said, "No, Dad, I've had it for 21 years. I'm retired."
Okay. Yes.
My dad was shocked, but my mom was like,
Well, sometimes kids don't follow in their parents' footsteps, so that's okay. But you have technically followed in your parents' footsteps from running your own business side of things. Yeah, taking that learning, but building your own vision and dream from that. Yeah,
"That's it,
yeah.
exactly." So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then I went into auditing and I graduated in accounting and finance, but
Okay.
I didn't want to go into one of the big accounting firms. I wanted to do something different. So I went into compliance and fraud investigation. And
Oh,
yeah, I really quite enjoyed that. It was a happenstance when I found my first fraud. I just couldn't reconcile the books, and I just kept asking the controller what's going on
Uh-huh.
because it was actually a college, a
Oh,
university, a state-ran
us.
university, and they
Mhm.
had three separate books. One for their normal GL, one for student banking, and one for fundraising and other stuff.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't reconcile
Making
them.
work. And,
Yeah, and I kept going back
yeah.
and back, and I think she just got tired. And she
Yeah.
finally just threw up her hand and said, I took it.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Okay. So,
like, 25-year-old going, what?
what? Oh, wow.
But
What was the amount of money in that moment?
well, after
Yeah.
after I figured out how the
Yeah.
scheme actually worked,
Yeah.
and of course you have to keep going back to them because now they start accruing the cost themselves personally.
Yeah.
So I kept going back to her and saying, "Is this all?" And found more. Oh no, no, that's it. Are you sure? Because I now know understand. So at the end, it was, this was 20
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was about 157,000 US
Okay.
dollars at the time.
Okay.
Not a
Okay.
massive
Yeah.
amount,
That's
but
still
for
an
a
amount. It's a,
college, that's
yeah,
fair
it's a chunk
bit.
of change. Yeah,
So
correct.
I did have to go to court, did have to be the expert on the stand.
Yes.
But it was awful because during the depositions and things like that, it came out that she was actually taking the money to fund her surgeries for her breast cancer.
Oh, Jesus.
And she
Okay.
hadn't
So no
told her
one wins in that
family.
story, does it? No one
No,
wins.
yeah. And that's the thing I found was that majority of frauds, they ruin their life for $300, not because they wanted to take the money, but because the controls weren't there. And it was really the fault of management, fault of not putting in the proper procedures. And, when you leave $1,000 on a table,
Mm.
and nobody checks normally what happens, it's an accident or a mistake the first time. No one catches it because the controls aren't there. And so they
Mm.
go, oh,
Oh,
well, let me try that again. Right. And then they
yeah.
start getting bolder and bolder, and that's when they get caught.
And
But
that's, yeah.
I got
Yeah,
a little
it's not
bit
good.
depressed over that, but yeah.
Yeah, it would have been tough. Yeah, because that's not a very happy experience either way. Yeah, not a
No,
good outcome. Yeah, yeah,
no,
finding that there's an issue there, but yeah, you should probably have seemed pretty desperate at that
yeah.
time, I'd imagine. Yeah,
Sometimes
so,
they can be, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I started to. I went to work for a public utility district and ran two hydroelectric dams. So a combination of about $2
You've
billion
had some
dollars in
vast
assets.
experience, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it was all still finance and accounting, right? But I was
Yeah,
just
well, yeah, different
running.
industries. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was closer to my parents at the time as well because I had my younger sister had passed away, so I wanted to be
Oh,
closer,
so yeah,
and this was very close to them, so I was able to see them, and I had some great experience at the Chelan County PUD. It was really good. During my time, we floated $700 million worth of bonds to build fish bypass. So
okay.
I got to be part of that team. I also was part of the renegotiations for the long-term contracts for our investors. So like City of Seattle, Alcoa, Microsoft, Boeing, which we built generated electricity for them. So
Okay.
these were
Yes.
35-year
Big
long
projects.
contracts and massive. So anybody that thinks that they're not going to use NPVs or things like that from their accounting and finance, you definitely will. But yeah, so after that, I was not getting the information that I needed on a regular basis. The data just wasn't there in real time. Again, this was back in 1998, 99, 2000. And so I started working with IT saying, hey, I need data more often because I was getting my report
Probably
six
very
weeks
slow.
after the
Yeah.
month end.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, and we had built, and I was head of the KPI team, and that was a whole new thing. This is when metrics really came into fashion, and Boeing and ourselves, so the Chelan County PDD, we were the two beta customers with Cognos to build KPIs and metrics management, and that's where all the kind of the cockpit analytics, so the dials and things came from, was because of Boeing.
Yeah,
And
for some, oh, it
yeah, it
makes
was
sense because of Boeing with the cockpit dial sort of things. It's just you take what you know and you repurpose it. Really, that's what we do in
that's
business
it.
or anything. Yeah,
Exactly.
don't need no need
Exactly.
to reinvent reveal. Let's copy paste. Let's use it for a different purpose. Yeah,
That's right. Exactly. And that's also where we came up with, the little like icons for KPIs, like the triangle and the circle and the stop sign. So red, green, and yellow. Because we initially, because we were a hydro, right? I thought, oh,
yeah,
it'd be clever to maybe do some thumbs up, thumbs down, and a hand. And of course, being a quasi government, they said, no, you can't do thumbs down because, that might depress somebody. And so, okay, fine. So I'll use like sunshine and rain and thunderstorm. And then
yeah.
the question was, well, is rain good or bad? Because we're a hydro. So
Yeah, rain might be good. Yeah, that's a fair point.
so,
Yeah,
I'm
question.
like, I give up. So we're gonna
Yeah,
make some generic ones, and that's
yeah,
actually where
yeah,
those little yeah, the different shapes for a triangle and
yeah.
a hexagon and a square came from,
Hmm. Oh,
yeah,
well,
I'm
you
really
got some
happy
history
about. Yeah,
there. Brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh,
And so then I got into working with data, and I was
you
able
can
to
see
then.
the journey to data, right?
Well,
So
that's it. Exactly.
gaps
Everything
in
is
data, how
data.
slow things were
Yeah.
at the time, and
Yeah.
then getting to KPIs, and then how do we get that in somewhat real time? And the data is critical, and crunching it effectively
100%.
in real time is,
That's it.
yeah, how do you suck it in? What do you measure
Well,
too? Are some of the critical things you're probably
well,
asking
that's
yourself at the
it.
time?
That's it.
Yeah.
When I was doing the KPI project across the whole organization, we came up with about 275 because we did
Mhm.
not just the hydros, but we did parks and
Yes.
fisheries and the power generation, of course, and
Mhm.
distribution. We also did the fiber to the houses for back in 1997. I actually put fiber and smart meters back to all of our houses, all of our constituents back then.
Wow.
So
In
yeah,
Australia, we just recently had fibre to the
yeah,
home. Not into the homes. Yeah, that's only the greenfield estates. Yeah.
that's it.
Wow. Okay.
So when I was presenting this to our COO at the time, he looked through and it was like, "This is awesome, awesome stuff." First thing was, well, we had to do the little different symbols because he was colorblind. So green
Oh,
red wouldn't have
yeah.
worked. So
Wouldn't
that's why
work. Yeah.
you've got
That's got different
different
shapes.
shapes as well.
Yeah. Brilliant.
But then he asked me, "Where's the river temperatures? Where's the KPI for river temperatures?" I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And he said, everything. Because if we have a temperature change, so when the water flows, it goes through the turbines, right? It's not like super fast, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't chop fish up, but it does warm the water up. And if there's a change in temperature by 1 degree, then certain species of fish are actually impacted. So especially like endangered salmon. So we had like
Got it.
40
Yeah.
different kinds of endangered salmon out of the 150 some odd species. And so they would get disorientated. So then predators would be able to get them, and that would not be good. So we would have issues with the Native Americans for their fishing rights, and we'd be fined. And then if we spilled too much, so that we wouldn't generate, we might spill too much and not generate enough, and so something like City of Seattle could fine us. So river
So tracking
temperatures
that's
are
important. Yeah.
really important. So I didn't realize that at the time. So I put together sensors before and after the dam. Back then, there was no real.
That's your IoT devices at the time.
Well,
Yeah.
that was, and we
Yeah.
used microwaves to send it to the head office. And I had on my Outlook Today page, I had a little ticker, like a
Yeah.
ticker tape, and every 6 seconds it was refreshed with the temperatures.
That's
So I really loved that data, and then
wouldn't have
that's
been
where I
called
went to.
IoT device at the time at all, just a sensor. That's why he said
That's
sensor.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So
Mm.
actually, IoT devices didn't actually come out until really as the term Internet of Things, 2007.
Yeah, it was later.
And yeah, so it was quite fun to be on that project. And then that's what led me to work for Cognos because I loved it so much. I said, hey, give me a job.
Got it.
So So that brought me here, and you can see now that journey has brought me
Mm,
all together, all those different things for my current startup, which is Green
mhm,
Parrot, the
mm.
sustainability platform. So it's accumulation of everything.
It probably goes
So
into that hydro project and what you're doing, the fish component, and that sustainability model there as well. So, yeah, that's fascinating how it all comes together, doesn't it? Yeah.
it does. It
Yeah.
is fascinating. So yeah, yeah.
What was the Green Parrot initiative? Where did that obviously stem from your experience, clearly, but was there a light bulb moment for you or just something that brewed over time?
No, there was an actual
Yeah.
light bulb moment. So again, with all the data, ESG regulations were just starting to come in back in 2020, just before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and in 21, I had I had the freedom to have some time alone to think, what's the next wave of things coming. And I just thought, well, sustainability, ESG reporting. And I looked at it slightly differently, though, because, at the time, the big consulting companies were doing the attestation or starting to do the attestation for, the ESG reporting in the States and in Europe. I didn't feel like I would want to compete with them on an ESG platform, for instance. But it
Okay.
was all this information and all this consulting that organizations had to invest in to do this reporting to agencies, governments, right? Well, that's really good information that consumers or buyers can have about making choices. So I thought, why don't I take that information, rebadge it, do a certification of sorts, and be able to present that information to consumers and buyers so that they can get an understanding of what the programs an organization does have. And I thought about that, and I thought about my parents, because even in the 70s they were already switching irrigation systems to be more efficient in water usage. And my parents were one of the first as well, along with a couple others, that went together to do organic fruit and
Oh,
be
really? Yeah,
certified, yeah,
okay.
in the
Yeah.
70s. But no one
In the
knows about
70s.
that.
Yeah, wow.
And I
Okay.
thought, I'm sure there's lots of other prime producers there. I'm sure there's also lots of other smaller manufacturers that have these types of programs and types of visions that no
Hmm.
one knows about. And I thought, if I give a voice to the brand, tell people about their narrative,
Hmm.
about what they're trying to do, in the also the ability to start to help them with ESG and sustainability reporting, that's a
Hmm.
great win for both. And that's where I also saw the idea that we could commercialize it, not just be, a CanStar or an independent rating agency that is a non-for-profit or a quasi-government or a government.
Hmm.
I said, no, we can be a for-profit. We can take over all those types of environmental and non-environmental metrics and potentially labels that people want to know about, be the aggregate, show what a product actually is as far as comparison, and
Hmm.
give them that choice. And
It's a huge
so,
vision, yeah, in terms of what
yeah,
you're trying to achieve. Because there's,
yeah.
in terms of probably listeners out there, in terms of ESG and all the reporting side, is becoming a lot more of around the globe. Clearly, I see the UN pin that you're wearing
Oh,
there in
yes,
terms
you
of
noticed.
sustainability. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
it's
17
something that's
UN sustainability
yeah, I
goals.
did
Yeah.
notice it. I was looking. Okay, is it? Okay, I think it is. Yeah. So, in terms of that, talk to us a little bit about what the responsibilities are from some of these big corporates, and it's starting to filter down further
Yep.
into small to
Yep.
medium. It's starting to look to push into.
So no matter what, obviously we're in Australia, and we've got a tiered system. So
Mm,
it's not just about scope one, scope two, and scope three. And for your listeners, those scopes that I just talked about are specifically around greenhouse emissions and how
mhm,
much you're actually producing. Scope one is your internal from your normal operations, what you produce. Scope two is your direct impacts. So it could be your employees' impact. So if you take the bus or drive to work in a V8 Holden Ford, what's the impact to the environment based off of those parameters. Scope 3 is your upline and downline supply chains, and what they emit, and how much that's part of your ecosystem. So scope 1, pretty easy to calculate. Scope 2, a little bit more difficult, and scope 3, unless you actually get buy-in from your suppliers and
Difficult, I'd imagine.
clients to actually get
Yes.
that information, it's really quite. It's very difficult to calculate, but they have come up with a number of different algorithms you can use.
Okay. Yep.
And specifically, a big chunk of it is about materiality and the variant range that you can have. But in Australia, the Australian sustainability reporting standards aren't just about GHG. So they are based off of an accounting principle. So IFRS, so International Financial Standards Reporting, and specifically within the IFRS framework, there's an S1 and S2 requirement. So S1 is about governance, primarily corporate governance, but also environmental governance and social governance. And then S2 is about climate. So you have to do all of that within Australia. So last year was Group 1's requirement to report. So Group 1 is 200 million in revenue and above. There are 3 parameters, and you have to meet 2 of them, but basically it's revenue. So 500 million and above for Group 1, and they had to report on their FY25, and then the reporting deadline was December 31st of 25. So anybody that's in Group 1 that's listening, you got to get on it, because ASEC is finding the heck out of people. So just for delays and not getting it in, and of course then if you're doing data that's not defensible, and that's basically the nicer term than greenwashing, right? Then you'll get fined. So Group 2 is this year, which is 200 million and above. And that's for FY26, and the reporting deadline is December 31st, 26. And then Group 3 is next year. So that's basically 50 million and above. So if you're under 50
It's
million,
starting to
then you're
lower down,
exempt. But yeah, if you've got 50 million in gross revenue, you have to do reporting.
Yeah. In
So
terms of, will it ever get bound to is there plans to get to small to medium enterprise at some level?
you can opt in to do it. And I know quite a number of businesses that do. There's a lot of startups as well that from their get-go in their constitution or their handbooks, they've decided that they want to do certain things. Now, it's
Sure.
not required, but once you do put it into your constitution or handbook, then you kind of have to do that.
You have to do it, yeah. You've
So
committed to it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is a cost. And
Of course, yeah, I'd imagine the
oh my
cost
goodness.
impetus would be significant, especially at a $500 million business.
Yeah,
Managing
that's
and
huge.
tracking and
Yeah.
not making up data and filling in gaps and holes would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's massive. So I've worked with a few big companies, and it's not easy. But even for Group 2, and it's between
Still.
350K to 1.2 million is the average range for the investment in that. And that's why I feel it's a complete sunk cost.
It
Unless
is. Yeah, it can be.
and that's actually the way most businesses look at it, as it's a cost I've got to incur.
But it's
And
also an opportunity to see problems in the business and where we can
absolutely.
improve on an operational perspective. That's how I see it. I'm pretty naive to it, but that's how I would see it. If you're using X amount of diesel, for example, to do X, Y, Z, how might we improve that and reduce costs? So that $1 million might turn into $10 million of savings if you do it right.
Absolutely. And operationally, people do look at it that way. But then again, businesses are going to be looking at their consumption of diesel anyway, but not the
course,
impact it
yeah.
might have, right?
Yes.
So that's where Green Parrot and I came in because I want to switch that mindset because the Australian people do care. They're getting more and more, less so than let's say the Europeans, which are far more advanced and more mature in that space, and then of course the US. But it is something that people are getting more and more used to try and find a product that's more sustainable. Not every product is sustainable, at least not yet. No one's net zero, so no one really cares that you're not net zero right now. But what they do care about is your progression to it or progression to being more and more sustainable. So if we have a stake in the ground and we are able to monitor that delta from there, then that's what people really care about. Are they getting better? Are they willing to commit? And if they are, then a lot of consumers and buyers, and I say buyers as well because government agencies and non-for-profits are now required as part of their tender selection to have a component for anybody that's supplying services or goods to government and non-for-profits to have a sustainability section and what they're doing and how they're rated, etc. So it is becoming more and more prevalent. People want to know what organizations are doing so they can have a choice. And I saw that and I still see it and it's getting bigger. And I thought, well, if I can help management and executives look at it as a competitive market lever that they can use
Yes.
and to try and increase quantity and or attract a premium, there is a populace that will do that. Yeah,
If
last
it can lead
year.
to more business and revenue, yes, there will
Well,
be.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
absolutely.
becomes
So
it's something you
Gartner,
can say we're in the top 5% or whatever the model is. How you live, how are you measuring it, or what's the thinking? Because that's
yeah,
always going to
yeah.
be an
Well, we
interesting
have a
challenge, I imagine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for us, we have about 150 different potential points of part of the algorithm to check what they're doing. And yes, we are fundamentally at the highest level. Our framework is based on the 17 UN sustainability goals, but underneath that, we've got all the different standards globally. So yeah, because Green Parrot, we launched actually in the DACH countries, so the German-speaking countries in Europe last year, and now we're launching in ANZ this year. Maybe the end of this year, early next year, we'll launch in the US. No matter what people think of Trump, no matter what they think about him pulling out of the Paris Accord or whatever, there's still already a lot of ESG regulations that corporates need to do in the U.S. anyway. So that's not going away, but the focus is slightly different, right? People are a little bit less worried about carbon emissions and more worried about a broader understanding of sustainability, and they're really concerned about traceability. So
Okay.
one of the things that we do, and I'm sorry I'm taking so much time on this,
No,
but
no, this is
but
the
it's really
interesting.
good
It's
because
a topic that doesn't get spoken about heaps, and then it is something that's been it's pushed globally, right? So,
it is.
and then conceptually, what you're trying to achieve is a big play. If anyone's listening and understands what you're trying to achieve, it's not a small objective here. To become that brand that is really measuring this across the globe is what you're after, right?
Exactly. We want to set up, really the global standard for rating for any product or service. And we're talking professional services, we're talking electronic transfer, financial transactions, etc. Whatever, and we can measure it, right? So, like in the States, they do like traceability, and that's their number one, and because they want to know whether or not what they're buying is actually foreign owned or not, or manufactured. And if it's especially if it's fruits and vegetables
It's
or
true.
food ingredients, they want to know. Well, it might be American grown, but is it owned by Americans?
Yeah, okay.
So whether or not,
Yeah, is it
the
foreign
farm,
owned? Yeah, of course.
yeah. Well, believe it or not, one of the largest owners of agricultural land in the world is the Ottawa Teachers Pension Fund.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
bizarre,
Which,
but
yeah.
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 So a lot of financial institutions,
Yes.
obviously in the US, Microsoft's Bill Gates Foundation is one of the biggest
Hmm.
owners, if not
Okay.
the biggest owner, it might be number two now, of agriculture land. Why?
Mm.
Because there is need to make sure that there is food for the future, right?
Mm.
And
Correct.
yeah,
Oh, we clearly have a challenge in that area.
yes.
It's we need to. There's lots of change. What's your especially being a part of the farm? I'm assuming the farm no longer in the family, or is
Yeah,
it
my mom's still
still?
my
Oh,
mom
still
my
going.
father passed
Yeah.
away a couple of years
Oh,
ago,
sorry to hear
but my
that.
mom,
Yeah.
she's gonna be
Yeah.
82
Oh,
next
wow.
week.
Yeah.
She is still vibrant and
Yes. Good
energetic,
on
and
her.
she's out on the farm running.
Yeah.
It's much smaller now. Now my
Yeah.
mom did sell off
Yes.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
My older sister is there as well,
Hmm.
but she's an ER nurse, so
Okay.
she's
Yeah.
not around a lot. But my mom's still running it, and yeah, my mom's still
We,
also
we
a
all need to, we
laboratory
all need
scientist.
purpose in life, don't we? Just
Yeah,
yeah, what
that's
are we
it.
getting up for today? Yeah, we need something to do, and I think
Oh yeah,
that's it. That's
absolutely. She's
inspirational.
not one to
At
sit
82, still
around.
running it. That's brilliant.
That's
Good on
it.
it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
No,
right.
very, and so the learning from the farm and the experience and the whole sustainability and how we impact lands would obviously be driving a lot of this and what's happening around the globe in terms of bringing awareness around this and what sustainable farming looks like and where it comes from. So there's quite a bit behind this, really.
Oh, there is absolutely, and believe it or not, agriculture is one of the first industries that actually are on the bleeding edge of doing things right. So, especially if it is environmental impact. I mean, my parents tried to use EV tractors 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, okay.
One of the first, right? I mean, it's feasible, but where they're at, there it's quite mountainous, which is really good for apples, pears, and cherries, and to have those elevation changes, etc.
Yes.
But for traditional farming, more traditional farming, so land crops or dry wheat, they've been using GPS farming for 2 decades,
Yeah,
right?
well,
So even though
okay.
my uncle would be in the combine, he
Mm.
wouldn't drive it. They just
Oh,
put
yes,
in
even
the
monitoring it. Yeah,
GPS
okay.
and
Yeah.
just to make sure that it doesn't yeah, go off track or whatever. But yeah, it everything is just automated. So all
Mm.
of that, you know, that went into those types of things from John Deere and International. Those are the things that Elon took from, being able to have driverless cars.
Mm,
So
yeah, it's all it gets taken from somewhere, doesn't
yeah, it does. Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
Yeah, no new ideas in the world, just building on another one's idea. That's what they say. It's you look at things and you look at how you reuse things, repurpose things. That's the reality of what we do as humans, really.
Find a better way. That's it. I
Yeah,
mean,
correct.
Amazon, we
Mm,
all buy books, right? Even
mm,
to this day,
yeah.
people still buy books. I don't think we'll ever get rid of paper copies, for nostalgic reasons, etc. I still read a book now and then.
Mm,
Most of it is online now,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, he just said, "Can I do this in a better way?"
Yeah, that's we ask that question continuously. So,
Mm.
in terms of Green Parrot, it's obviously a big data play, which is your background and experience as well. So you got the agriculture sustainability, big data. How do you propose on consuming this data around organisations? Is it taking reports? Is it really getting in there? What is it? What's the thinking there?
Well, all the above. So,
Okay.
because my data background, everything is data.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
first and foremost, Green Parrot is a data management platform.
Mm.
We suck
Yep.
in data from everywhere: satellite imagery, drone imagery, IoT devices on the supply chain or cold storage, etc. Manufacturing IoT devices, etc. When we actually produce the star rating, the logo, and the QR code, that's actually an NFT block, so it's blockchained.
Oh,
And
really?
when somebody
Okay.
scans it, this might be a little controversial, but we
Yeah.
do apply by all the consumer data rights and GDPR and everything like
Yeah.
that. But we collect data from when you scan it. right?
Okay.
So we can
So you
hyper
can see what people are
personalize that to you.
interested in
So
as well. Yes.
yeah, so there's
Yeah.
so many. But as far as organizations, we do a lot of prep work. So we integrate with GS1 and One World Sync. So anybody that sells a product globally, if you've got a barcode, right, you're part of GS1 or One World Sync. Amazon, if you want to sell something on Amazon, you must have a barcode. That comes from GS1. So when you buy a barcode, you've got to put in product information, data, etc., into that GS1 or
True.
One World Sync database. Well, we bring that in already. So we have, for Australia, there's about 20 million products.
Yeah, there we are thinking millions. I'm sure there's going to be millions in there.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So we've
many.
got about 20 million from Australia and about 50
Geez, we don't,
million
we don't
from Europe.
consume much, do we? As
No, we don't.
no, not at all. No,
That's it.
20 million products. Yeah,
Exactly.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
One,
So,
one per person per capita.
well, this is the thing as well. So GS1, for instance, is not a
Yes.
master data management, right? So it's not like it's called a GTIN, so a global identification number, and it's a smart number. So the first few digits are the first two digits are the country of origin. The first like 4 or 5 are the company, and you buy that company, and then you get a block
Got
of
it.
GTINs, and then you add in the rest of the numbers up to 12, 13 numbers can be the actual product. And so for Australia was actually quite progressive on using this in the very beginning. And so we actually have a superset of attributes for a product. So you can have up to 7,500 attributes for a product.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For one product,
That's
you can have seven. It's now again, it's different for
mind-boggling. Yeah, how many?
industry.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but still. So Woolies and Coles use it. So if you want to sell something at either of those, you have to have a GS1 barcode, and it has to be done properly. And they've got some specialized fields inside of the data set as well. But we bring all that stuff in so that we've got that information. And anyone that does sell a product, so if there are multiple people that sell Coca-Cola, for instance, it's not just Coca-Cola Amatil that puts in the product code. It's anybody that actually sells. So you could have that product
So all
code.
the way to distribution as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. 1,000 times in the database.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why I built Symphony Technology about 10 years ago, was to have a master data set for organizations that want to pass information throughout the distribution channel specifically, not just manufacturer to retailer, but through that distribution channel, because it was thousands of spreadsheets between all the distribution channel members. So from the manufacturer to an aggregator to a distributor to finally the cafe or small, convenience store, etc. So literally, you'd have up to 25,000 for one organization, 25,000 spreadsheets a month
Yeah, wow.
for
Okay.
that. And so I streamed all of that. So I learned all that stuff. So being able to bring all that in as well helps to jump the hoops and try to eliminate some of the obstacles for companies and brands to come on our platform. But yes, for ESG, there are very certain different requirements. So if you're already have a ESG or sustainability attestation company, they're probably already gathering that. So we're agnostic. We don't have
Got
to
it.
be the services. So we can integrate with that ESG platform and pull that information in, so we can evaluate it. And obviously, we do. A lot of organizations have landing pages for their sustainability, so we'll pull that in as well. But yeah, there is sometimes some manual things, especially if they want to tell their story in a certain way, so we can pull in that narrative.
Yeah, that's in terms of the tech and the build. It'd be fascinating just a couple of minutes on that for a minute, because this is large scale that you're aiming for. What does that look like? How you've gone about that? Are you using some off-the-shelf technology? How have you approached it? Because you can't just build it for 10 businesses. You're trying to build this for a global impact, right? So it's, yeah.
So our vision, first, our vision is to be the logo behind every sustainability story. So literally, we want to be on the packaging. If it's a, let's say, FMCG, on the packaging so people can scan it, get that information in real time information, and we can bring in other certifications. So if they're certified for organics or H2 employment or modern slavery,
It goes to the
or
story behind
wellness,
everything on the
etc.,
scan.
we
Yeah.
bring it in. So the other thing is I wanted it to be a multi-tenanted platform, right? So I wanted one platform. I didn't want to have multiple instances. So what we
There's a
had to
good
do
reason
was
for that because maintaining it becomes almost nigh impossible at scale. Yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So a bit more like I'm sure some of your listeners probably use Zero, for instance. It would be more like that, where you're able to log in, get all your information, customize certain things, but it's all still one platform. It's one instance. For Green Parrot, because we are collecting potentially information from governments, etc., we had to make sure that we are abiding by country sovereignty laws for data as well as PI information. So we had to architect it in such a way where, yes, I want to have a global common repository for some of the information, and certainly anonymization for other pieces, because we do have people that want to buy our data, especially insurance companies. But then we break it off to be localized in different regions. So the EU, the UK, the US, Singapore, Australia, etc. So the architecture had to be quite sophisticated. So we are using an off-the-shelf supplier. So InterSystems is a data management platform. So for anybody that's in data, they will know it. Anybody in medical field, they will know it. And so most of, I'd say 80% plus of all health, all hospitals, all medical clinics run on InterSystems. Most of the capital markets actually run on InterSystems. So like
Got it.
Ameritrade, E-Trade, etc. So the back
Yeah,
end
because
is
what you're
then,
aiming at is big. It's, yeah, I
yeah.
wouldn't be
So
trying to
I
custom
had to
build
have
this whole
something
thing
that,
from the ground up. There's no,
that's
yeah,
right.
just you'd be investing so much money. It's just beyond
That's it.
a huge
So
number. Yeah.
they're a private company still.
Yes.
So they're out of Boston. They're about a $5 billion company, but they've been around since the 70s, I believe. So
Okay. Yeah.
uh, Tom Regan is the founder CEO, and he's still running it to this day. Great guy, very personable. Wants to help people. They have a program for startups as well
Brilliant.
to run on their software. So the back end is InterSystems.
Yep.
And if you haven't seen it run and you're in data, you have to, because they it's a B-Tree type database. So it's technically an old technology, but the ability that it has to run hundreds of billions of records in seconds and minutes, both
That's
read
a
and
scale that
write.
you're after
It's just,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
Well,
what you're targeting. Yes.
that's it.
That's
I
why
was
I asked
gonna
that question
say,
because I didn't think you'd built this thing from the ground up because otherwise I
well,
would
we
have been
have
a
built
little
it from
bit
the ground, except for that piece,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
that's a
our
big piece, right? I'd be concerned if you tried to build it from the ground. I'm thinking, wow, good luck. Yeah, that's a big, bold, outlandish
yeah.
goal. So, yeah,
So our
brilliant.
POC was traditionally built just a normal SQL
Yes.
database and
Yeah.
wireframes and
Yep.
.NET. Our MVP was basically the same, but a full MVP. But when we started building our production database, I said our production platform, I said no. We're going to use InterSystems as the back end. We're going to use AI to build all of our code so that we have a process that we can continue to use AI to build future modules, future functionality, etc., and have very quick responses to the market and changes. So my CTO Lucas, he actually said, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." And he was already in the AI community, but hadn't really built applications, especially enterprise applications, with it. So all of our code has been built with Claude Code at the moment, and it's in production,
If you're
working
not
great.
using these technologies, you're behind. So that's,
That's
you have
it,
to be.
exactly.
Yeah,
Look, he
yeah,
built so he built pretty much all of it in about 2 weeks.
yeah,
Obviously,
well,
we did a lot of testing, and so that took months.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah, the
right,
building is and then it's the testing and validating and refinement phase. That's where all the work's going now. But you can get, people don't think about that. Just build it and hope it
yeah,
deploys.
that's
That's
right.
very dangerous still.
It is.
Maybe
It
in the
is.
future it may not be that dangerous, but right now it's very dangerous. It probably always will be. You still need to vet things. You've got to vet anything that gets done anyway. But yeah, it's fascinating what you can do in a short period of time. But
Oh my goodness.
from
It's
a
I have
POC
an
at least.
idea in the
Yeah,
afternoon and I
yeah,
send it off to Lucas, and by the morning he's got pilot up and running and saying, "Hey, do you like this or not?"
yeah,
I'm
and
like,
then yeah,
sometimes, yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Or
yeah,
let's do some revision. But the turnaround time is just phenomenal. So
yeah.
now that we've got our CI/CD process in place as well, which is what I wanted to make sure
Yep.
that we had before we really
Yes.
went into production, is make sure that we had all of those elements in place, as well as
Yeah.
our migration path from dev, test,
Oh,
and
you need that all
production.
set up properly if you're
Yeah,
going to really go. Otherwise,
absolutely,
yeah, it becomes way
absolutely.
too difficult to get quality control. And that's the critical thing, the quality control side. You're not building a small application here, or you haven't got a small vision. So it does
That's it.
need to, deliver the outcome in a big scale and do it quite well. Um, Dan, lots to cover there. Plenty going on. I think I'd be love to regroup later in the year and
Yeah,
see how it's all progressing in terms of the vision, because it's a huge vision and a huge goal that you're going after, and commend you for it, because
thank
go
you.
big sometime is a good way to just into the world and see if we can make a huge impact. So and deliver upon some of those 17 sustainability goals, because you'll impact a few of them, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone wants to find out more about yourself or Green Parrot, where do they do that?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, so W Daniel Cox the third, and any of my socials, same. So W Daniel Cox the third. You can also, I'm always open. My door's always open. So if you want to email me directly, it's just dan@gpc.green.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And one last question. The W in W, Dan, the Cox, what does that stand for?
William, William.
William. Yeah, I thought it
Yeah,
might be William, but I'll ask the question.
yeah, yeah. No,
It's just
good.
a W in front of a name. You don't see it very often, so it's a rarity.
No, there's a few in
Yeah,
the States, but not very
yeah,
often.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my parents called me Daniel instead of
yeah, yeah,
William. And
yeah, yeah.
my dad was junior, my grandfather was senior. And if my grandfather's father's father would have called him William Daniel Cox, then I would be the 14th. So he skipped a generation, so he started over.
Oh, wow, he started again. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. Good background story
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
exactly.
No,
And
thank you, Dan. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time on the DevReady podcast.
thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Have a great day.